Good morning, Devils fans. Off of another win, 4-2 over the Calgary Flames. I actually ended up watching this game twice. First one was, like I said, was at a nice little housewarming, Christmas party, Devils fan get together. We'll all watch the game. And I mostly was paying attention, but had both my kids there as well, so I had to keep an eye on them. And just finished watching a replay of the game this morning just to make sure I caught everything. And it was mostly what I caught on the peripherals on the first time anyway. That first period was rough. Goodness gracious. The boys had a ton of turnovers in their own zone. The transition out of our own zone was awful. We really just kind of let them reset if we did ever get a clear and come right back in, or if we would just not get the clear and would let them set up in our own zone. And thankfully, the defense did sell out a little bit to keep the high danger chances moderately low given what opportunities we were presenting to the Flames. But still, VTech made some really great saves early on. And at the end of it, of course, we're on the power play, which I had said was supposed to be our strong suit heading into this. And instead, we give up the shorthanded goal to who else but Igor Sharangovich. I actually feel pretty great for him there. That's great to see. It's been talked about before. I kind of mentioned it a while ago, early on in one of my early episodes. When you make trades with other teams, and GMs take note of this, the guys you trade out, if they go on to perform decently well to, well, just how do they play after the trade, that matters. And Yegor doing well in Calgary, top line, top power play unit, all that stuff is a good notch, a feather in Fitz's cap because he can say, hey, look, I'm not going to sell you out on a trade I'm making here. But anywho, enough on that. Uh, I'm not going to blame VTech again. It's a full on breakaway. I don't ever give the goalie any bad will towards those. But they probably deserve to be one up, one nothing, just like Bill had said. They definitely outplayed us there in that first period. And funny enough, we could have possibly come away up one nothing in that. I mean, what was it? The very first shift, 15 seconds in, Bratt had a very strong chance driving to the net. There was a couple other chances by the Jack Hughes line. Even the Nico line had a couple. And heck, that third line, when Mikey got bumped up to it. Now, when it was Lazar with with Mercer and Timo, it did not look that great. The coaching staff recognized that pretty quickly. Ended up bumping McLeod up to that line for a shift or two, I think it was, and it looked a little better. And then come the second period, it was flopped back to basically the original setup from the game before. Lazar back down to the fourth line, and Holtz up with Mercer and Meyer. Now, I've not been the biggest fan of this line, but they did get a goal, and I think they actually controlled play for the most part quite well, surprisingly. A big part of that is I think Mercer looked a lot better in this one. And if he can get going at the center position and actually push play in the right direction, that line could work. However, I'm still going to say I'm not liking Holla as a full fixture on Jack's line with Toffoli there. I would still bump any of those third line guys up to that line with Jack, move Holla down to that third line, or bump McLeod back up to that third line and move Holla to the fourth. I don't see them doing that. I'm sure Holla would be the third line guy, but that's what I would like to see. And I think Jack's line they had their chances as they always do. I mean, Jack had multiple shots that could have gone in. Wolf had a very great glove side in this game. Toffoli had multiple chances, none that were like grade A, but shots that could be goals. And still, I think that line could be even deadlier than it was. Our first goal was pretty great. Bratt had a pretty decent chance to shoot in the slot off of a amazing keep in by Luke. That play is completely created off of that keep in by Luke. He should get 3 assists on that one for that play, but obviously that's not how the NHL works. Instead, Bratt's right in the slot and could have teed it up, but he was surrounded by 3 Flames players throwing their sticks toward him. Instead, he gets the pass over to Nico in a not as prime position to shoot, but he had a clear path to the net, and he beats Wolf clean. Gorgeous, gorgeous goal. Kind of got paid back. You could say, oh, Wolf kind of has to have that. There's no screen. He gets a clean look. He gets beat, on just a gorgeous shot. Same thing ends up happening to us on the second goal late in the third by Kadri, where the Flames defenseman beats a couple of our forwards going in. Play on their part, but that happens going through the neutral zone sometimes. He backs Ball off because he is driving the net as a defenseman, so Ball has to take him there. It leaves Kadri wide open, almost from the same exact spot that Nico was in, but this time with a couple bodies in between. And he lands a gorgeous shot, very almost exact same to Nico's. So if you want to say, each of the goalies could have, should have had those, well, neither did. And so, that's the breaks. The next goal, though, the second goal that we had there by Bratt, very lucky, insanely lucky. Not on the call. That was the right call. You could see from the replay, Coleman very clearly yanked Nico down. That is not goaltender interference when you go flying into the goalie because the other guy yanked you down. Then Coleman tries to break the clear. Bratt does the right play of crashing the net, but he didn't do anything else where the puck deflects off him, deflects off of Uyghur, and then into the net. I talked about it probably like 20 games of the season. We had maybe one lucky bounce goal. Well, here's another one. I feel like we have gotten a lot more of these as of late, and that's by driving the net and those type of plays. So you love to see that. Our third goal, again, was also a fairly lucky one. Now, it could have been pretty close to Timo putting this in himself, but instead it does deflect off of the Flames defenseman, off of the pass shot, whatever you want to call it, was really just a pass by Holtz. And Holtz gets another goal. Yeah, he is the sniper, but they're not all going to go in that way. We get another lucky bounce. That had put us up 3-1 at the time. The Kadri goal I already mentioned made it 3-2. And then the beautiful 200-foot shot with the empty net. Nico seals the deal with the 4-2 win. The more overarching view, I said the first period was rough. The defensive play, the transition play out, it was not good from any line, any of them. It was horrendous across the board. We were lucky to get out of that just 1-0. Could have even been nothing, but could have been one on us, but we were lucky that it was at that point. I mentioned it to everyone that was there watching with me. They pulled up the stat on the screen. We had them right where we wanted because we actually win more often than we don't, giving up the first goal. And Calgary loses a lot more often at home when they score the first goal. So we were in their heads clearly at that point. But really, from the second period on, I felt like we had a much, much better, if not just a strong defensive overall 200-foot game from there on out. I don't think Calgary really had a lot of dangerous chances outside of the first 15 seconds of that second period. Huberdeau missed a wide open net with nothing. There was no reason he misses that. That game should have been 2-0, 15 seconds into the second, and that probably changes the entire trajectory of that game. And instead, Huberdeau just whiffs. Bad. Awful. Awful by Huberdeau. He has not been good. If you're a Flames fan, that's a killer. That's brutally, brutally awful. Because instead of it being 2-0, a few minutes later we come down to tied 1-1, then 2-1, then 3-1, 3-2, and then we steal it 4-2, right? I mean, geez, Huberdeau, you scored that, you probably win that game, to be honest. That's brutal stuff. Brutal, brutal stuff. Now, I want to focus in on a few individual players. Obviously, the Nico line, Nico specifically, has just been fantastic since coming back. Palat, Bratt just continue to do great things with him there. You cannot break up that line. They are doing way too well. I mentioned it. Holla needs to bump down to the third, if not fourth. Probably just the third line. Give Jack and Toffoli a more consistent weapon to use. I know Holla is there for the face-offs, but they need another better offensive threat than Holla there. Timo looked a lot better in this one, but I still don't think he looked like Timo. I think it was really Mercer doing a lot more of the driving on that line, which is fine. That's good. We need Mercer to be doing that. But we still need Timo to get into his groove and start taking over some shifts like we know he can. I thought Nemec played well enough. I don't think he had any super outstanding offensive moments in this one at all. But he didn't have any glaring defensive mistakes outside of just the whole team not looking great defensively in the first. And overall, it was a fine enough game. Again, we're getting into sample size is still really low. I thought this was going to be a tougher game for him. It was, but he still managed to play well enough, and that's what you need to see. And what we're going to talk about here in a moment, the Oilers game that's coming up here soon, today, 4 p.m. start. That's going to be a huge test on Nemec. I'm telling you, the whole team, really. Vitek played well. Wolf also played decently, but probably could have been a little bit better for Calgary. But that really, the goalies didn't super decide this one. I think it was the skaters. We only had the two power plays. I thought they both looked actually pretty good. Outside of the second unit on the first one that did give up the shorthanded goal, I thought our top unit did look good. It just didn't go in the net, and that happens. Our penalty kill didn't have to do anything, so that works. Hopefully we can get that again in this one, but sometimes if you get no calls in one game and then the next one, you're probably going to get one. You're tired, especially a team like Edmonton. Just expect probably at least 2, if not 3 calls in this one. Although I would love if we had another no penalty game, because that would be a huge changer against the Oilers, who have been insane. So let's go ahead and jump into the Oilers are on whatever 6-7 game win streak now, absolutely blasting teams. They destroyed Carolina, not like Tampa, everyone. They're just crushing everybody right now in this streak. Connor McDavid is doing absolute Connor McDavid things. Draisaitl is looking fantastic. They're getting good enough goaltending, but really they're just controlling and dominating play to such an extent it doesn't even matter. Don't give up a power play to Edmonton. They are going to crush you on it. Yes, we have the top unit, so they're probably saying the same about us, which they should. Because I do think overall ours is actually much more of a threat, because you know what they have to do between McDavid and Draisaitl. Yes, ours runs through Jack, but then we have a ton of weapons. It's Toffoli, it's Nico, it's Bratt, it's Luke throughout that entire thing. But yeah, I think 5-on-5 will actually be better. It's surprising in this stretch. Their 10-game rolling average is actually moving down in their 5-on-5 domination of play compared to where Woodcroft had them previously. But they're still absolutely crushing teams. And that's because they're finally getting some goaltending and defensive effort. And that bodes for a very high-flying, should be a really fun game. It's going to be a huge test on our young rookie defensemen, especially Nemec. Can't wait to see what Luke does, because I think he actually should do quite well against this. I am not as sure about Nemec on that one, and so I'm very interested to see how he does. And yeah, it should just be a great game. I don't really have too much else to say. These are two of the hottest teams in the NHL right now, us and Edmonton. Goaltending has been way down for both teams and a little bit up more recently for both teams, as we are going to get Akira Schmid in this one. And then the power plays for both teams are electric. The penalty kills for both teams have not been. 5-on-5 play for both teams have been great all season. Edmonton's finally getting the defensive effort to back it up. We have been a little bit more wishy-washy there, but it's really, we've always been pretty good defensively. It's just been the goalie sinking us. Again, not great defensively, but good enough defensively, considering how great we are offensively. You guys know the deal at this point, what I'm saying. So, yeah, it should be a great one. I don't even have to go super in-depth. We're back-to-back here. The game's super soon. I just want to get this video out. And if you already made it to this point, you're one of the few anyway. So shout out to you guys. Can't wait to react to this Oilers game. The Western road trip was already a success, regardless of how this game goes. But obviously got to cap it off with another win and come home feeling great. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, as always, and forever. Let's go Devils.